Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're looking at Psalm 68, a psalm that is a song of praise, written by David to the chief musician to be sung as they celebrated the Ark of the Covenant coming into Mount Zion and setting in God's holy place, where God Himself would manifest His presence in the midst of His people. It's a psalm that honors and glorifies God and remembers all that God has done for them. In the first verses, let God arise, let His enemies be scattered. Why? Because when God comes in the midst of His people, the enemies of God must flee, because there is no God like our God. And my friend, you and I as believers, as followers of Jesus Christ, we have the presence of God in us. Let our enemies be scattered. Oh, though they be the fiends of hell, the demons of hell themselves, our enemies must scatter when Jesus Christ is made manifest. Whenever you turn, you don't have to fight the darkness. You turn on the light and the darkness flees. My friend, we today have the light of the gospel of Jesus Christ in us. And when we walk in the light of fellowship with Jesus Christ, the blood of Christ cleansing us moment by moment, the light of the glory of God should shine out of us. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and a lost world has to see the difference, and the devils have to flee, and the gates of hell cannot stand against the marching of God and the marching of His church and the marching of His people. We are a victorious people already in Jesus Christ. We don't fight for victory. We fight from victory that's already been won on the cross of Calvary. And I believe that's what this psalm typifies and teaches us today. Of course, it was a national hymn of praise for Israel. And as you come on down to verse 6, where we left off yesterday, we read, God sets the solitary in families. He brings out those who are bound into prosperity, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land. Oh God, when you went out before your people, when you marched through the wilderness, Selah. And of course, this is a reference, and now what David is doing, he's speaking of how God not only comes to us, but God marches before us. He marched before the nation of Israel. When they came out of Egypt, He marched before them into the Red Sea, and it parted. And it talks about in another psalm how His footsteps were unseen. Yes, it was God who started down through that Red Sea, and as the waters saw Him, they parted at His command, and the people walked across on dry land, and He brought them into the wilderness, and He marched before them in the wilderness. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Whenever that Shekinah glory cloud would rise up over the tabernacle and begin to move, the people would pack up and follow it. God was marching before them. You, oh God, went out before your people. You marched through the wilderness. And we are on a wilderness journey today, my friend. You and I are, as we walk through this world. It's a world that's a wilderness, a place is called the wilderness of sin, sometimes in the book of Exodus. And we definitely are in that wilderness today. But our God is with us. He marches before us. And what happened? The earth is shook. The heavens also dropped rain at the presence of God. Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel. Oh, remember when Moses went up on Mount Sinai and God met him there to give him the 10 Commandments. It shook, thundering and lightnings, and the people trembled at the very presence of God being made manifest on that mountain, the God of Israel. And you, O God, sent a plentiful rain whereby you confirmed your inheritance when it was weary. And they complained because they had no food. And God did send literal rain, no doubt, but He rained down manna. He rained down bread from heaven for the people to eat. He provided for them in the wilderness for every day water and food. And every day He took care of, and He takes care of us too when it was weary. When we're weary, we're tired, and we're wondering, where is God? He's still there, and He'll answer our prayers when we call. Your congregation dwelt in it. You, O God, provided from your goodness for the poor. The Lord gave the word, and great was the company of those who proclaimed it. And now you see the people entering into the promised land, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Well, God bless you. We have a great God. Honor Him, love Him, praise Him, worship Him today, and God will be glorified in your life. God bless, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.